Welcome to Shom Machshava on the Daf. Shir Zalui Nishbas, my wife's grandfather, Rav Zeb ben Tzvi Halevi, Zechet Tzar Livrocha. We're holding Menachos Daf Chof, and the Gemara in this Daf speaks about the union of Melach, of salt, Bris, Melach, Oilom. You must have salt on the karbonis. Rav Yosef Engel in his Sefer Tziyudim L'Torah Klal Mim, which is the last klal in the Sefer, he brings the Rambam and the Chinuch. The one who does a krova without Melach, he's over a loisase of a loisashbis Melach. And he goes on to explain that this lav, the way they understand the lav, depends on the following chakira. What's the reason they need to have salt on the karbonis? Is the pshat that the salt on the karbonis makes the carbon better? You have a carbon and the salt just adds to it? Or the salt is something on its own? You have to bring karbonis, you have to bring Melach as well. So he says, Mashra from the Rambam and the Chinuch, that's it in the carbon, that the carbon should not be without a salt. Someone puts carbon without salt, he's missing in the carbon. It's not that he's missing in the melach, he's missing in the carbon. It's part of the carbon. And he could use to say that really it's the machlekes over here in our Gemara. There's a machlekes if without melicha is a kosher or not. It says depends on that. If the melach is a carbon from yatzmoi, so if you didn't do melicha, you're missing melach, but you still have a carbon. But if the melach is part of the carbon, so then you're missing part of the carbon. This chakira of Rabbi Yosef Engel depends on the reason for the fact that we need to have melach. Rabbeinu Bechai in Vayikra Perek Beis Pasuk Gimel brings a few explanations why do we have melach. He starts the pshat is we want to bring the carbon with a good taste. Machuso the harak and machuso the rikio, you want to give HaKadosh Baruch Hu something with salt. It's more appropriate. The food is better. And then Rabbeinu Bechai brings a medrash. Brings a medrash that we don't have. The source for this medrash is this Rabbeinu Bechai. That when HaKadosh Baruch Hu split the Mayim Elyoim and Mayim HaTachtonim, he put the Rekiah in between. So Mayim HaTachtonim started crying and they said that we want to be close to Malkeinu. We want to be next to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'll tell you how you can be close to us, to me. How do you get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The Mayim HaTachtonim get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with two elements. One is Nisuch HaMayim and Sukkos, and the other one is the melach of the karbonis, the salt that comes from the sea. That's the Mayim HaTachtonim, you come up to Shamayim. And he could use to say that Rabbi Bechai himself says that this medrash is a gedomo to what's brought down in the Kabbalah. Api Kabbalah, the idea of the melach is the melach has the koyach of midas adin and midas chesed, because it has the water. The salt comes from the water, and mitzad sheni has something which dries it up. So it's water and fire, din and chesed. When you have both things together, so that's the two koiches that you have in the world, and that's why you put melach on the Mizbeach. The world is the shit of a midas adin with midas harachamim, and that's what melach represents. And the what he means to say, the Kabbalah compares or completes the medrash. The medrash, derech medrash, is to tell you that the Mayim Tachtonim want to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Kabbalah says, what is the pe'ula of Mayim Tachtonim? Is the midas chesed, the midas adin together, that represents the Gilui HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. After this chakira of Yosef Engel depends on these pshatim. Derech pshat of the Rabbeinu Bechai, the reason you have melach is only to make the carbon better. It's part of the carbon. But a derech medrash v'Kabbalah, melach is something on its own. The melach is to come to bring the Mayim HaTachtonim up here to be megal the midas HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It stands on its own. Reuven Margoliers in the Sefer Shari Zoyar, he sends us to two Zoyars where it's clear there the melach stands on its own. One is the Zoyar in Parshas Behar, Chel Gimel Daf Kuf Tes Amud Aleph, where there it speaks about different avodos you have in Beis Hamikdash, and then you have avodo number 10, Liosakriyanim Oisim Karbonas B'Mikdash. Avodo number Yud Gimel Limloach Karbonas B'Mikdash. Why you split it? Melach is part of the carbon. You see from here, Melach stands on its own. And the second Zoyar is the Parshas Vayechi Chelakala Daf Reish Rim Aleph on base, where there the Zoyar explains that the Melach is the Bris of the world. The world exists with the Melach. Because the Melach is Mimarek or Mivases Vase Miriro Lat Omo. It takes away the miriris, takes away the bad of the world. That's what Melach represents. After the Pshat and the Zoyar is like Rabbi Bechai brings L'Shem Kabbalah, that it's the idea of the combination of Chesed and Din together. Not to have only Din, the Melach represents that combination. So this is another raya of Reuven Margolius from the Zoyar. The Melach is on its own. Melach is not part of the carbon. It's a Din to come to be Mevas in the world. According to what we learn, Al Derech HaKabbalah, Derech HaMedrash, this is really the raya, like the Tzad of Yosef Engel, that Melach is not part of the carbon, but Melach is a standalone thing. Anyone who wants to join or sponsor Shomachshava Shiurim, please email shomachshava@gmail.com.